Hello, everyone. Welcome to this next edition of the CoSpaces Edu monthly webinars. Thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate it. And if you're here, hopefully you're interested in learning more about how we can use AI or artificial intelligence with CoSpaces Edu. That's what I'm going to talk with all of you about today. So welcome. Let us get started. So I'm going to do a little bit of switching around on my screens here. Feel free to chime in the chat if you're watching on Facebook. I believe if you go to, let's see, I'm trying to look for my banners here. So if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard permission, you'll be able to chat in the live broadcast. And if I see any really interesting comments or questions related to what I'm sharing with you today, I might throw them up on the screen for the rest of the audience to see. And I'll try my best to respond and answer as we continue on in our live webinar today. So feel free to do that. Give that a try. And let's go. I'm going to turn these off. Let's see which one. Turn that one off. All right, and then if you can see down below there, there's a little ticker tape down there. If you haven't done so yet, fill out the RSVP Google form. And after the broadcast today, we're going to send you an email with a link to the slides and with a bunch of links and resources and some other goodies as well. So feel free to fill out that RSVP, and we'll be sure to get that email to you. Right. Okay. So let's get started. There's a few things I want to share with you before we get to the AI stuff. So really quick, just so you know who I am, you know who's talking at you. My name is Michael Fricano II. I'm a CoSpaces Edu Guru Ambassador. I've been using CoSpaces Edu since before they were CoSpaces Edu. I've been using it for quite a number of years now. It's one of my students' favorite tools to use in my classroom. And by day, I'm a K through 6 design and technology teacher. And of course, you know, I wouldn't be sharing CoSpaces with you if I didn't feel like it was a tool that I could use in my classroom. So I definitely use CoSpaces Edu with my students with a variety of projects. But I've also developed lesson plans for CoSpaces, a few CoBlocks tutorials. I've also created a curriculum plan for Games for Change. And you might, if you're in the Facebook community group, you might recognize me. I'm one of the moderators there, always chiming in and saying hi and welcoming new members and sharing lots of resources. But a couple things I want to share with you first before we get to the AI stuff. I want to highlight a few things. I think I'll make this a regular feature of the webinar. So I'm going to highlight 3 things. I'm going to highlight a feature in CoSpaces, and then I'm going to highlight a resource from CoSpaces Edu, and then I'd like to highlight a CoSpace from the gallery. Share a few neat things that you might find useful for yourself and your students. So a feature that I want to highlight in this month's webinar is the ability to create folders. Very simple feature, but extremely useful. I've been using it since it was released to organize my CoSpaces, because I've been using CoSpaces for so many years now. I have lots of CoSpaces in my account, and just the ability to organize it into folders has been extremely helpful. So let me see, I'm going to switch over to my screen here. I do want to quickly demo how this works. It's a fairly simple process, but one that you may or may not be aware of. So in CoSpaces, right, in your own CoSpace dashboard here, like me, maybe you're like me, you have lots of CoSpaces. And I run quite a few different projects with my students, depending on the grade level and time of the year. And I always have like a sample project, or I have a template that I want to be able to give students access to as part of the project. And so I started using the create folder feature. So you can create a folder, give it a name, And then the folders live on the top of your CoSpace dashboard here. So for example, I do the Welcome CoSpaces project at the beginning of the school year. And in there are the templates that I share with students as part of the project. So having it in a folder is a lot easier to get access to, as opposed to trying to scroll through my almost seemingly endless list of CoSpaces to find that project. So folders live right at the top. Very useful, handy feature. So that's a great feature, one I wanted to highlight with all of you today. And if it's a feature you use, feel free to chime in the chat. Let us know how useful it is for you guys. The next highlight I want to share with you is a resource highlight. So what I like to do in the webinar is just point out a really helpful resource from the CoSpaces Edu team. And for this month's webinar, I want to highlight the lesson plans. I think that's a great resource, great place to get started, especially if you're a teacher, who's just learning about CoSpaces Edu and you're not quite sure how to get started or what kinds of things students are capable of creating. So the lesson plans on the CoSpaces website is a great resource. Let me show you where that is. So I'm going to switch over to my screen here. So on the CoSpaces.io website, there is a resource tab on the top, and in there is a section called lesson plans. And what I love about the lesson plans page here is that there are filters, right? So you can filter by high school, you can filter by middle school or elementary or kindergarten. Let me turn some of these off. So like I'll filter by elementary, and then you can filter by subject area. So maybe you want something related to STEM and coding. And then there are a couple other criteria you can filter by, like projects that are remote friendly, if you're teaching remotely or virtually, projects that rely on collaboration, and or projects that are individual activities. So maybe I'll do individual. And then what you see down below are the results of those filters. And each lesson plan comes with a downloadable PDF. One of the projects that I love using the one of the projects that my students love the most is designing a roller coaster. It's a really great lesson plan, especially for an introduction to coding. And you get a nice printable PDF resource. This one's made by Open Source Labs. Great group of people there, and very well laid out lesson plan with links to YouTube videos. Sometimes there's links to examples of CoSpaces or templates in CoSpaces that you can use to assign to students. So give that a try. Check out the lesson plans if you're looking for some great ideas on different ways you can use CoSpaces Edu. Okay, then, and the last highlight I want to share with you is a CoSpace highlight. So I've scoured the gallery. The gallery's got some amazing stuff in it, and I found one CoSpace in particular that I want to share with you guys. I thought was pretty cool, a really simple but detailed use of CoSpaces, and that's this one by our CoSpacer Nick Templeton. He created an Amazon rainforest that gives you two options for exploring. Let's see if I can find that here. So I'm going to do a quick jump into here, go to the gallery. And right now his CoSpace is living on the social sciences tab called Amazon Rainforest. And let's see if this loads for us. There we go. Press play. I'm going to jump back a scene here, because at the first scene, he actually allows you to choose how you want to interact with his experience. You can either follow the tiger trail, or you could choose your own path. I like the tiger trail because you're actually trailing behind a tiger that's strolling through the rainforest. I just thought it was a really unique way of sharing an environment with students. Great way. Maybe they're studying a particular location around the world. It's be a really cool project for kids to create on their own, like create their own example of that environment or that location in the world, and then find a way to have the viewer explore it, either by following a person or an animal or a transportation vehicle or some type of track. This is sort of like the roller coaster experience, although it's a much more slowed down experience. But I thought it was really cool. Lots of animals and decorations. You got a waterfall feature there, walking across the water. So I thought it was just a really simple but detailed CoSpace. Thought it was very cool. So feel free to check that out. I think, let's see, can we remix it? I'm pretty sure. I think any CoSpace now that's shared to the gallery can be remixed. So there you go. So you can definitely remix this, show it to your students, see, figure out how it's been programmed. There we go. Okay, a little lag there. Sorry, guys. Okay. All right. So a few highlights. Got to see a CoSpace from the gallery, highlighting a feature from CoSpaces, the ability to create folders, and then checking out the lesson plan library by CoSpaces Edu. But let us move on to, I think, what you're all here for today, and that's this idea of app smashing with AI. So what I want to do is share a few really interesting AI tools that can help you and your students generate some content for CoSpaces, right? So the idea here is not really using AI to create a CoSpace, but using AI to create the content that could be a part of a CoSpace. Okay, so I'm going to share some a few tools with you, and then take what you want from it. Before we get into the tools, though, it is important that you do a few things before deciding whether or not to use AI in your classroom. And this depends on the subject area, the grade level, the age of your students, but these are some suggestions that I have for you. So before using AI tools with your students, you should definitely do the following. And I would do it in this order particularly. So number one, check the privacy policy and the terms of use. Okay, determine, is it a tool that requires a login or an account? Is it a paid tool? Is it what I like to refer to as a freemium tool, meaning it has a free limited version, but paying gives you more features or more access? It's important to understand how the company manages access to that tool, and then make sure you understand what the age requirement is, right? So for users to be able to use the tool or to log in and access the features, how old do they have to be? What kinds of permissions are required? So be careful with those things. And then number two, verify that the tool can even be used on your school network. I've seen lots of examples of teachers wanting to use a tool and they're planning to use it that day, and then they ask their students to go to that tool and it's not accessible because the network is blocking it, right? So ahead of time, definitely check with your IT department to make sure that it's a tool that you can access. And I would also check in with them to make sure that it's a tool that they're comfortable with being used on the school network. And then, of course, try the tool for yourself. Never jump in to having your students use a tool with cold feet, right? You got to make sure that you at least understand the basics and try it out for yourself. Okay. And then, again, before you use it with students, create some sample projects. So create some examples that you might want to share with students so that they have a better idea of what it is you're looking for through the use of that tool. Okay, so with that being said, let's take a look at some example projects. Some example tools. So the first one, I've shared this before, and if you're in the Facebook community, you may have seen it being shared there too. One of our great co-spacers came across Blockade Labs early on, and I think it's a really powerful tool specifically for CoSpaces because it's an AI tool that allows you to give it a prompt, and it takes that prompt and attempts to create a 360-degree image with that prompt. So there's quite a few really great text to image tools out there. But this one specifically creates 360-degree images, which is a extremely powerful tool for CoSpaces, because in CoSpaces we work in a 360-degree environment, right? It's a virtual reality creation tool. So Skyblocks can be, I think, very useful for that. And there's already, if you search on Twitter or X or on Facebook, even some CoSpacers have shared their examples in the Facebook community of how they're using Skyblocks. But let me show you really quick how this works. So here's one that I've generated. So you see my my prompt at the bottom here. So let's say I'm trying to create an underwater experience in CoSpaces, and I want a background that supports that. So my prompt was an ancient city deep under the ocean with fish and other sea creatures swimming around. And once you give it the prompt, you can also choose the style of the image. So I chose to create a realistic image. I'm logged in here, and Skyblocks is it's a freemium tool. So there's a free version. You can create an account, and the free version, what it does is it allows you 15 image generations per month on the free side. Then, of course, if you pay, there are a lot more features that Blockade Labs offers on the paid side, as well as being able to create more images in a month or a year. But there is a free version. It's very limited. You'll see that when I get into selecting the styles, there are some styles that are only available on the paid plans, right? So again, those are some of the limitations of free versus paid. But you can choose a style and then generate. And then what it does, like I mentioned, it creates a 360 image. So I can drag my mouse around. I'm not really seeing an ancient city like I asked it to, but nonetheless, a pretty cool underwater 360 image that I could use to get started with a CoSpaces project. Then I can download that picture. Let's see. I'll download it as a PNG. Give that a second to... Hey, Gabe. Thanks for joining me. They're really gearing this... Oh, getting some lag. Should have downloaded one before I started this. Come on. There we go. Okay, I'm going to save this. Jump on over to CoSpaces. Let's just toss one in here really quick. Oh, nope, I want to do create a class. Create a CoSpace, 360 image. So because we're working with a 360 picture, we want to make sure we're using a 360 image CoSpace. I'm going to toss this in. So I'm uploading the 360 image. Come on. I've got a lot of websites open, as well as streaming. There we go. All right, cool. There we go. So here's my 360 image I generated on Blockade Labs inside of my CoSpace. And then, of course, if you're familiar with CoSpace, you can then, plug in 3D objects. We have a scuba diver. Oh, here's a submarine. I'll do that. There we go. Right. So then you can begin to develop your 360 environment using the 3D objects based on a 360 image that you generated with Blockade Labs. So a really powerful tool, really useful. Something that maybe you only get 15, right? So if you're working with a larger class, there's some limitations to that. But something you might want to explore might be if you think you're going to get a lot of use out of it, maybe you're working with a lot of students, it might be worth purchasing the lowest tier plan to give yourself more images to generate. But lots of other features built in that you might want to consider exploring as well. I don't have time to get through all of them, but hopefully that gives you a starting point with a tool like Blockade Labs. Okay, so I'm gonna close that out. Okay, let's move on to the next tool. So the next one I have is called Splash Pro. So this is a text to music generating AI generation tool. So you give it a prompt about a particular type of music that you want, and it will do two things. It'll generate a 30-second music, 30-second clip of music that it generates based on your prompt. And then you can also have it create lyrics based on your prompt as well. So the music that you guys heard while you were waiting earlier, let me play it again, was actually generated with Splash Pro. So this song here, let's see. Splash Pro, create the waiting music. Pretty cool. But you know, one cool feature of CoSpaces is the ability to upload audio, right? And so having like a background, some background music or background audio playing in the experience definitely enhances the CoSpace experience for players. So Splash Pro, I'll show you an example here. Splash Pro. So like here's my CoSpaces example that I did earlier for the webinar music, but I said a futuristic upbeat tune that can be played on repeat. And what's cool is that it gives you 4 examples. So if you can hear this. There's 7, 8, 5 to it. So you can listen to 4 examples. It tries to produce 4 possible choices for you. And then you choose one in order to move forward, or you can say, you know, give me more unique samples. So if you don't like the 4, you can always try more. So I selected which one? I selected this one. I think that was the second one. It gives me a 30-second clip that I can download, but then I can say edit song. And I can add lyrics. And then I could either give it lyrics and it could incorporate those lyrics into the beat, into the music, or I could have it magically generate lyrics based on the original prompt. So I'll try that. Let's see what lyrics it gives me. Okay, and then I'll apply these changes. I think you can also change the voice and all that. It's going to generate vocals. Okay, there we go. So now
swirling lights, the neon sky. Unlock the doors, come inside. A world of dreams waiting for you. We'll leave the past and make it true.
Cool, yeah. So it creates a nice 30-second audio clip that you can download on its own, but you can also incorporate or have it generate or give it lyrics, and it'll incorporate that into the music that it generates. And then, of course, you download it. You can download as an MP3 or other sound file types. You can even download it as a video. So that would be kind of cool. You could either do like a audio background in CoSpaces, or you could download it as a video and upload that video into CoSpaces and maybe like apply it to a TV screen or the wall and use it as a video feature in your CoSpaces as well, if you're familiar with how to do those things. But again, another really cool AI text AI generation tool that might be useful in CoSpaces Edu. Switch over. So that's called Splash Pro. I'm on the free side, and let me show you. Let's see. So if I do the free version, it says you get unlimited songs. You get access to the 2 different generations. So you get pretty good access with the free version. On the starter side, you get high quality music, unlimited commercial license. So I think commercial means like you're using it to make money, right? So on the free side, you couldn't use the music generated to produce your own money. But oh, thanks, Gabe. Gabe tossed in an example he made there in the chat. That's pretty cool. But again, definitely another option to explore for creating content in CoSpaces Edu. Let's move on to the next one here. So this is a really interesting one I've shared before. It's called Genmo. I think it's pronounced Genmo. And basically, it's text to video creation, sorta. It's more like a GIF sort of type of video. It's like an image transforming into another image, but you give it a prompt, and then it'll try its best to create a video based on that prompt. So let's see. So here I've created one. These are the ones I've created so far. So I try starting with so you can see as you watch it, I said a mushroom transforming into a home. And that's sort of like a home on the bottom. I think it's like transforming into a little house with a chimney and some windows, and the mushrooms are transforming. But basically, it creates like a, what is this, a 4-second clip? So more like a GIF than a video. But this one was a lizard transforming into a dragon. Not quite. Kind of weird. It's got double eyes and a weird thing coming out of the head. This one was a fantasy-themed lizard transforming into a fire-breathing dragon. So sort of kind of cool that the legs are moving, like the background. But you know, rather than like 2D still images that you can attach to walls in CoSpaces, this would be another cool option for creating like a video that is attached to a TV object in CoSpaces, so that you're creating something entertaining, something more visually appealing within your CoSpaces project for your audience to experience. So you give it the text prompt. I think you can upload an image for reference, or it says upload an image to create a similar style video. So if you have like a reference image, you can feed it. There's a cool like dice, sort of like roll the dice and see what it comes up with. Let's see. So it'll automatically generate a prompt for you based on the Darth Vader as a fashion model. I got to try that later. But again, another interesting AI tool that can create content for CoSpaces projects that could support creating really engaging, interesting, visually appealing stuff for CoSpaces. Okay, and then let's see. The last one I have, we're getting back to probably the most popular AI tool, is ChatGPT. And what I've been exploring, a really interesting concept with ChatGPT, especially with its ability to chat with images. So if you're on the paid version of ChatGPT currently, you can give it an image, and then it'll analyze that image, and then it'll use that as a reference for your conversation. Whoops. Too far there for a second. So what I've been doing, well, first I gave it the CoBlocks overview. So let me show you this. So I gave it a resource that CoSpaces Edu provides. It's a poster of all of the CoBlocks that you can program with in CoSpaces. So that's the picture here, right? So you can actually, and we'll share a link to this with you. It's on the CoSpaces website, but it references the categories and all the blocks. And then I asked it, and I told it, I prompted it, this is a complete list of all the CoBlocks in this tool. It's a block-based programming tool. And at first I was thinking, like, can it create a program for me based on an idea I have for programming something in CoSpaces? So I said, I would like help creating a program. I have 2 separate characters. Let's call them Kid 1 and Kid 2. And I like for them to simulate walking towards each other and saying hello to each other. And I asked it, can you suggest how I should create the program? And it did a pretty good job. So at first it laid out some ideas for the types of blocks I would use, right? So it gave me place them in your scene, ensuring they're facing each other, simulate the walking. So it's suggesting I use the transform block in the transitions block and transform. Might want to use the move item forward. So it's done a pretty good job of like seeing the blocks in the image and referencing them in its explanation to me. Not perfect, but it's a great starting point, right? So I was thinking like, oh, can I? And then it actually got into creating the program, trying to create the program here, and then telling me what the X, Y, Z, and the A, what those mean in the program, and what I should replace them with, appropriate values. I thought that was pretty cool. But we don't want students having AI create the programs, right? That doesn't help my students learn. I want them to create the programs themselves. But sometimes what we struggle with is, or what students struggle with is resolving bugs, right? Finding issues, finding the the problems in the program, the things in the program that are causing problems that aren't making it work correctly. And so I figured, can AI provide that support, right? I'm only one teacher. I can't help the entire class all at the same time, but can I give them a place to go that can provide them that support and maybe be analyze their program and attempt to locate those bugs and then give suggestions as to how they can fix it. And so I've been exploring that. So I gave it a screenshot of a program from a game that we work on in class. And this program, what it does is it tracks lives and subtracts a life when they fall in the lava. This is the floor is lava, or the obstacle course game. Actually, that's the wrong one. I gave it this image, right? So then the prompt I give it is explaining like what this code does, right? So I'm creating an obstacle course. I like to keep track of the lives. I want the player to begin with 3 lives, and every time they fall, they lose a life, and I want them to be able to see their lives. So I ask it, can you help me spot any bugs and provide suggestions for fixing my bugs? And it's doing a pretty good job of analyzing what it sees. Now, keep in mind that I've already prompted it with the overview image, right? So it already has a reference above, right? Because I'm continuing in the same chat. So I've already given it this information, right? And now I'm asking it specific questions related to that original image. And here it says, okay, the set variable lives to 3 block initializes the lives, which is correct. Okay, so it's looking at my program and telling me, okay, it appears that this block is doing what you want it to. It's giving the player 3 lives. And then the next block should correctly display the initial lives count. And it's giving me a suggestion here. Ensure that the lives text is a text object in your scene that is always visible to the player. So a great suggestion that sometimes you might forget in building the objects in CoSpaces. And what's really cool too is it's kind of breaking apart my program and analyzing it in different sections. So the section where there's the collision with lava, the section in my code where there's the game over condition, and then it's giving me potential issues that I should address, right? So things I need to look for and suggestions on how to fix it. But wanted to share this with you. It's something I'm still exploring myself, but again, the idea here is using an AI chatbot like ChatGPT to analyze work the programs that students have produced in CoSpaces, and then using the AI to provide support to that student after they've created the program, in terms of like detecting bugs, suggestions for fixing those problems, and even suggestions for improving upon the program that they have. How can we make it better? How can we do what we intend to do a little differently? So I'm still exploring this. I haven't tried it with my students yet. It's something that I want to explore a little further, maybe pull some more examples and test it out even more. But I wanted to share this interesting idea with all of you, and if it's something you're interested in, give it a try. Okay, so that's ChatGPT using a text-based AI chatbot to analyze CoBlox programs and provide feedback and suggestion for improvement. Okay, so we're coming to the end here. We're wrapping things up. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention this. One important thing about using text-based AI is the prompt. Okay. And so I wanted to point you all to a resource that has helped me quite a bit in getting better at my prompt crafting. And that is, I got this prompt engineering framework from the AI Classroom book. If you're RSVP in the form there at the bottom, in that little ticker that's happening below me here, we'll share a link to this book, but it's got a great chapter in there all about the best ways to craft your prompt so that you get better results. And it's this prep edit framework, right? So the way you prompt AI determines the quality of the responses you get. And so I've practiced quite a bit in applying this framework here, and I definitely notice a difference in the quality of the responses I get from my chatbot. But I just wanted to point this out, and hopefully it's a useful resource for you if you're exploring using chatbots. Okay. All right, so hopefully, I assume most of you watching already use CoSpaces, but if not, maybe you're new to CoSpaces and you're not quite sure if it's something that you want to use with your students. But if you want to try it, feel free to use this trial code, COSMichaelFR, and that'll give you 30 days of CoSpaces Edu Pro for with 100 seats. So that's you and 99 students. You get full pro access for 30 days. Great opportunity, good chunk of time to at least try one CoSpaces Edu project and see if it's something you're interested in exploring and continuing to use into the future. So feel free to check that out. I really appreciate you guys joining me today. Thank you for watching. We hope to do more of these webinars. But be sure to follow myself and CoSpaces Edu on Facebook and Twitter, X, and all the other social medias. And stay tuned for information about our next CoSpaces Edu webinar. And if you haven't done so yet, down below here in the ticker tape coming across your screen is the short link for the RSVP form. Be sure that you fill that out. I'm going to switch over. Let me turn it into. I'm going to hide that for a second, guys, and then do that. There we go. So that bit.ly down there, fill out the form, and you'll get an email fairly soon after we end the webinar with links to the slide deck, to the resources that I shared, as well as some other useful resources as well. So be sure to fill out that form down there, bit.ly/NOV23 CoSpaces, and stay tuned for that link. But thank you so much for joining us for this November webinar, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and happy CoSpacing. Thanks, guys.